Hi, folks. This is Mike Zlotnik, Big Mike, and today's discussion is going to be all about best practices, managing your portfolio. We're recording this in mid to late August 2023, and the environment has changed. We were smooth sailing until Fed started to raise interest rates, and now things are a little bit more volatile, a little bit more uncertain. So improving best practices, managing your portfolio well, in a potentially an economic downturn is vitally important. These best practices will be helpful during great days too. But before we do that, let me go with the usual disclaimer. This is for informational and educational purposes only. No advice of any kind, no solicitation of any kind. If you're interested in our family of funds or syndications, request PPM, private placement memorandum, as a formal offering document to accredited investors only. Consult with your attorney and CPA professional before making investment decisions. Now let's dive into the best practices of portfolio management. We eat our own cat food or dog food. We go through these discussions every day. How do we do our job better? How do we improve our asset and portfolio management? Because we are investors. Our funds are investors. And you are an investor. You're investing in our funds or syndications. So you're going through a similar process as what we are going through. So let me share some of the thoughts on some of the best practices, what needs to happen to make sure that you feel confident about your investments, your portfolio. And first point, you're not going to get perfect answers. So what I wanted to point out is that information is dynamic and changing. And things may look great or they may look terrible. And 3 months later, things can change. So it is important to pay attention to your investments, but just understand that things often change. In addition, depending on what your investments look like, some of them are going through value add, substantial improvements plans. Those transactions, those syndications, those investments may have very much changing updates month to a month, quarter to a quarter. Just be aware of that. And then the final point, obviously, is that if you made great investment decisions, these investments will work for you for years. Now, the environment has certainly changed, and you have to be aware that there are some headwinds of high interest rate environment. However, these headwinds may change as well. Situation may improve as interest rates may go down at some point in time. I've expressed this point of view that I believe the interest rates are at the peak of the cycle. The Fed pushed rates fast and furious, and now maximum velocity or very close to the maximum velocity. So from this point on, we're either going to be where we are or we may start going down over time. So that's my point of view. I don't have a crystal ball. Of course, the interest rates can go up. Of course, there's still risk associated with that. However, based on all the data that I'm seeing, I think the opportunity is for interest rates to go down, maybe not immediately, but in the next year or two, they should cycle back down. Although there are different points of view, there are different opinions. If inflation is sticky, the Fed may be forced to keep rates at a higher level. Of course, that's a possibility. But let me go back to the primary point of this conversation. So let's just jump into the best practices. So number one, go through written updates for each of your investments. May it be syndication, fund, or if you have partners, go through whatever there is out there in the formal written updates. These updates typically come in on quarterly basis, depending on the sponsor or operator. Some folks can produce them more often on monthly basis. Most operators can do them on quarterly basis. So written updates provide you at least a starting point. It's not often enough, but it is something better than nothing. If they produce a video or a PDF update, please consume it to the best of your ability. I know it takes time, but this is what is required for you to get a deeper understanding how a given investment is doing. Also, know the difference between funds and syndications. Syndications are single asset deals. So update is a lot more specific to that project, and you may have a very detailed view on that. Funds may have multiple assets. So fund updates typically consume more information if you want greater detail. And at the end of the day, what you're looking for when you are trying to get an update on a fund, how the fund is doing in general. Because the fund may have 90% of the assets doing well and a few doing fine and a few underperforming. So understanding in aggregate how it's doing is the bigger picture, right? Let's kind of go back into some more detail. In addition to that, I strongly encourage you, and this is what we do too, is to set up calls with your operators, sponsors, syndicators, whoever you invested with. If you invested in a turnkey property or turnkey properties, who is the manager of these properties? And get a fresh update how a given project or a given investment is doing. Just get actual hands-on conversation. Now, it may be difficult to schedule time with the CEO of the company. Schedule it with their investor relations manager. Do the best you can to get some more information. Ask questions. So don't just come to these calls and say, hey, give me an update, which is not a bad idea, by the way. I've gotten these calls over the last few days from some of our large investors, and they just want to know. They just want to have a personal conversation and get an update from me directly instead of going to our manager of investor relations. I don't mind. I do have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I'll do the best I can to be responsive. At the same time, I ask you and beg you, as much as you can, try to schedule some time with Diana, our manager of investor relations, at least as a starting point. If you're not getting enough, I'm certainly available to give you personal service to help you gain more confidence or answer any advanced questions. The best practice is to reach out. We do the same thing. We get sponsor updates. So let me just kind of explain what we do. We have quite a bit of business with Pepper Pike and Fairway America and a number of other large operators that we partner with. So we set up calls with them. With some folks, we are on monthly calls. And on monthly call, we go through every investment in the portfolio. Not only we get written updates, we actually question written updates after we read them, and we look at the data, and the data speaks. So some stuff will yield immediate questions. For example, if occupancy is too low, what is going on? And the answer may be pretty fine, that they're going through heavy renovations and they needed to increase occupancy to get rid of bad tenants, or they needed to increase occupancy to be able to renovate. So these type of conversations are important. You often get answer behind the data and the numbers. So start with written updates to schedule these periodic calls. We do these calls, as deep as we can go, try to get information. Sometimes information is available. Sometimes we got to go deeper. Sometimes we got to go visit properties. So the next level of sort of ongoing review and due diligence is especially if you have a substantial investment with a given sponsor or an operator or a fund manager, you can actually visit some assets. You can schedule the time, schedule a visit. I just did that. I just visited Indianapolis and St. Louis because we have a bunch of investments with Pepper Pike. So we saw these assets, and I scheduled time with their CEO, Paul Keebler, to go on site, to spend time with him, to get a better understanding project by project, go to every property, ask questions, understand if something is underperforming, why. Sometimes the answer is not obvious. Sometimes a hurricane or a tornado hit, and they have to be dealing with some repairs, right? But you need to know. And if you just look at the data might tell you one story, but the reality may be a little different. So again, written reports, written updates, this video update, obviously consume those. Then you go into the next scheduling these calls. Now, your time is precious too. So you may not be in a position to schedule these calls with every sponsor, operator, investor all the time. You may choose to do them on quarterly basis instead of monthly. You also may choose to have these detailed calls with folks you have bigger checks. So we just had conversation internally with Yurian from my team. We're just chatting. Do we need to discuss every investment on every call with every sponsor? And the answer is it depends. We certainly want to prioritize these conversations. And the prioritization goes like this. You start with the biggest checks. So where do you have most money deployed, right? And that's your higher priority because you obviously have a bigger exposure. So once you cover that, next is, do you have any projects on the list that have had past concerns? So if it's a past concern, how those concerns have been addressed? Has situation been going in the positive direction? Is there still an issue? What's being done? Has the risk improved or gotten worse? So you're obviously prioritizing based on sort of size of the investment, condition that investment was in or is in based on previous discussions of previous data points. And then after that, you go to the next level of priority where you have smaller checks. You still want to touch them. You still want to know what's going on. But most likely the written update may answer your questions and tell you that investment is doing just fine. It's not facing any big challenges, and you don't need to have a lot of time discussing it. Maybe the written update is sufficient, or you can just do a quick call. Hey, how's this fund doing? Oh, it's doing fine. Wonderful. I appreciate a quick update. Any concerns? Sort of, you can ask some of these questions with the order of priority. And then if you have something that you've invested a whole bunch of money into and you're concerned a little bit about it, you can schedule a call. You can say, hey, I have a big check written into this property And can I come and visit? And by the way, we are not direct operators. We partner with folks like Power Pike, as I mentioned, and other operators. So if you want to come and visit the property, we will pick up the phone, we'll call, we'll schedule, we'll often come out with you. So we've done this in the past. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that you are informed, you're comfortable. If you have concerns and you want to visit properties, we more than welcome that. So we do that too. Some of the conversations we have is we are going to properties more often now than in the past. And again, when the days were wonderful, everything was just smooth sailing, returns were happening even when sponsors were not operating well. Those days are over. Now it's the best operator with the strongest execution is going to win, and many will underperform. Hopefully they won't be big underperformers, but there is risks associated with execution. So paying attention to what's performing, what's not performing or underperforming, and spending time and energy on bigger investments and things that are underperforming will help you feel more confident about your investments. And we do the same. As I said, we pay attention to our investments. And when you have big relationships with folks, that you have deep investments, multiple deals and syndications, they should give you the necessary time and attention. Just reach out. And I know that you're all busy and it's not easy to find the time. At the same time, it is important that you have gained confidence, you have knowledge, and instead of feeling uncertainty and anxiety, have the conversation. And if you can't have the conversation every month, have it once a quarter. If you can't have it once a quarter, have it every 6 months. But the point is, get involved, engaged into the conversations. There's another benefit to you as an investor from having these type of discussions. It's a great learning experience. Honestly, I have to say, every time I come out, every time I meet with a sponsor and operator, we talk, we'll get to know each other a little bit better. I learn quite a bit. It's not a perfect world, and I'm always striving to learn and to improve and to understand better. So there are all kinds of benefits from the engagement so that your own horizons will open, your own knowledge will grow, your ability to understand risks and rewards will improve, so that when you see a similar project with a different operator or sponsor or a future project, you will be able to underwrite better and to understand what to do, what questions to ask. So that's kind of a general framework of what to do. We have certainly done a few things beyond that. We've increased our team. So our team has grown. We've added an analyst that was last fall, Alex. We've added director of portfolio and asset management, Misha and Timur, in February of 2023. From our perspective, we're spending a lot more time and energy managing our portfolio through funds and syndications that we have better and deeper. And we are reaching out to sponsors and operators we've invested with to get more detailed information, more frequent information, to visit the properties. And that helps us feel better about what we do. Not only that, as we are informed, we feel stronger to be able to provide these updates to you. So if sometimes updates are a little slow and you're sitting and waiting for an update, don't be shy. I greatly appreciate when people reach out and they ask a question, hey, Mike, I haven't spoken with you in 6 months or however long, and I'd like to get an update. I am honestly would be delighted to get on a Zoom and schedule time with me through bigmikecall.com. That's the website. A lot of my time is blocked. I have a lot of scheduled activities, meetings, business trips, and so on. Nonetheless, there are open spots. If you can't reach out, you can also go and speak with Diana first. Diana is the manager of investor relations. You can go to templefunding.com/IR call and schedule the time with her. You can also email us, invest@templefunding.com, and express your challenges, concerns, questions, suggestions. We appreciate constructive feedback. So I hope this is helpful, and we see some great opportunities ahead. Nonetheless, what's really important is to manage what we've got, and that's what we're focused on. And what's really interesting is this. I'll give you this one more comment, and then I'm going to shut up. So as I was visiting Pepper Pike, we spent a lot of time working with them and investing with them. They haven't bought anything this year, and they feel great. I spoke with Paul Kibler, the CEO. He says he feels great because he has time and energy to focus on maximizing their investments. And I actually value and treasure that. From our perspective, it's been slow capital deployment year for us, but that's the positive news, because we're not looking to do more deals. We're looking to maximize what we've got. And the few deals that are coming up, we want to do really great deals. So my discussion with Paul was
So what the next deal is going to look like? And he told me, Mike, again, I have no need deals at all. My business is totally fine. So he's looking for great deals. He's talking to the bankers. He's talking to the insurance companies that are lenders that have challenging projects. And he wants to get the first phone call when there is truly distressed owner. And he wants to be the knight on a white horse coming in, getting a great deal at a discounted price from an operator who can't execute. So the idea is no more good deals. This is an environment to get a great deal or no deal. So I hope this helps. Appreciate your time and attention. Until the next time.